Hi everyone, today we're going to be doing an exercise using a couple commands called contour and pipe. And the image we're looking at here, I was able to produce by looking at an image created by Euler Wu Collaborative. And this is their project, it's called The Exchange. What I like about it is that Euler Wu is able to produce a surface out of a series of lines, and I'll show you the rendering that I was able to do as a result, which looks like this. And I'm going to show you how to be able to produce a surface that we're going to contour, and then we're going to pipe. And we're going to contour this in two directions to get this effect. Now, I did this image or this rendering using V-Ray. It is my renderer of choice. Um, we're not going to be going over that today, but this is an example of what you can produce using V-Ray. So we'll go ahead and get started. This is the file that I used to render. And the other command that we're going to be using to transition between what's happening here with this surface that I drew and the box or the envelope that's holding it is called blend surface tool, which I'll go over as well. That's a really fun tool. So, okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started. I'm gonna do a similar operation to what I've done here, and I can show you some of the steps back here, which is all I've done is I've drawn in 2D, two lines. Let's see if I can isolate this here. It's two lines, as you can see. And all I've done is I've used the sweep command. Go back. I've used the sweep command to take a curve that comes across. And what I was looking for was a more three-dimensional surface, not something that's just flat across. And so that's able to give me this profile here, which I'll be going over. I produced this surface using the blend surface tool. Let's see if I can turn this off. And so these are my profile lines that I used, which I piped. And get rid of my pipes. There's my surface. I have my lines, my profile. And that's the surface that I contoured. So rather than just starting here, I'm going to start over so that you can see how I created this surface. And you guys will be able to do something very similar. So I already did this side. As you can see, this is pretty much done. Now what I want to do is I want to wrap this around and give a similar effect on this side. I'm going to start at the same height here, so it looks like it's transitioning from the opening. And I'm just going to make a movement here with the line. So the first thing I need to do is get my C-plane onto this surface. There's a few ways of doing it. I like to just set the Z in the opposite direction that I'm going to draw. And now I'm drawing on this surface. So I'll go ahead and start with my profile line. I'll make this red so you can see it. And I'm going to start at the end here and go perpendicular. There we go. And so now I'm going to start here. So There we go. Now that's a little bit different than what I've done here. Yeah, it's slightly different. Maybe what I can do is push and pull these lines a little bit. Maybe I'll actually come back up. No. Okay. Next thing that I did is I copied it. I just dragged the second one down, except I just manipulated the points again. So I'm just clicking on the points and I'm moving them. I don't really like that very much. It might be a little bit better. Okay, this doesn't really matter too much. I'm showing you all how to produce the effect. I don't want to sit here all day pushing and pulling these lines, but I have something I kind of like. The next thing I'm going to do is I have a smooth transition. And to do that, to create that, I am going to use the fillet command. So I type in fillet and I set the radius that I want here. My radius is set to 6. Depending on the scale that you're working on, you may have to change that. So I'll show you what 6 looks like. Okay, and maybe that's going to be too big. So I'll do it again, fillet, and I'll set it to 3. So a little smaller. And I can just go around and set the transitions. Okay. And so now this is what I look like here on my surface. What I want to be able to produce now is the profile and similar to what I've done here to add some depth to that surface. So I'll have to change my Z again. What I can do is I can just hide this, get rid of that there. Maybe you can't see my line. Let me change the color. Okay. And I'm going to change my Z, set my Z again in the opposite direction that I want to draw. So now I'm drawing over here. And I'm going to use a line. Now, this would be a straight line from here to here. What I want to do is have some curvature. So I'm going to just click out here and then click back in. There you go. And so now that's going to be my profile. If I want to make this a little bit stronger, just move that over a little bit. Okay. Now, I look at, maybe you can't see it. Actually, I didn't draw this correctly. I don't know what happened. That's not right. Let's draw this again. I didn't seem to pick up my C plane, so there we go. And that's correct. You can see that now it's perpendicular to what will be the surface because I'm going to sweep this along these two curves in that direction. So what I'll do is I'll type the sweep 2. I have a sweep 1, which is basically just going to sweep along one rail. And I'll show you what that looks like. It's going to ask me the first question, the sweep 1 is going to ask me select my rail. I'll say this top one. And then it's going to ask me for my cross section. So I'm going to click this line here. I'll hit enter. And as you can see, what this did is it basically created a surface that's consistent to the section that I drew at the beginning here, and it just piped it across. Now I want to be able to have some difference on that, and so what I need is I'm going to need to sweep 2 rails. So I'll type sweep 2. Now I'm going to click two rails and then my section. I didn't hit enter, just did two rails and then section. Hit enter again. Okay. And there you go. I have my surface. Now I do have some ISO curves here and I can hide those. I usually like to hide those, but first you can't see this because I'm on the other screen. I'm going to bring this over. It's asking me if I want to make any changes. I'm just going to say no. Whatever just came out is fine with me. And you can explore for yourself if you want to make some changes on that. I'm going to flip this, scroll down here and just turn off the ISO curve. So now I have a surface. You can see that there's actually three-dimensionality to it because I was able to produce that curvature at the beginning and that followed throughout the surface. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to contour. So let me move this over to surface 2. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to contour. So you don't want to contour your profile lines. So I got rid of all my lines. It's just my surface. And I'm going to contour in two directions. I'll show you how to do that. You type in contour, select the surface you want to contour, and then it's going to ask you for the base point for where you're going to start. I'm going to make my first contour vertical, and it looks like I need to change my C-plane again. So easy, I'll just set it home. I'll select the contour command again, select my surface, select my base point, and this is just a direction of the contours. So my contours are going to start over here, and they're going to go in this direction, and they're going to be perpendicular to the line that I have. So since I have a horizontal line, the contours are going to be vertical. Okay, start that again, and the other. It's asking me for my distance, 1. I did this before. I'm going to change this to 1.5. I think I'm going to like 1 better. So let's do this again. Contour, select base. This is just setting the direction. I don't have to go all the way to the end. I just have to set the direction. And I'm going to change this to 1. So I'm going to type 1, enter. There you go. Now I just contoured that surface. Now I have a series of lines going across. What I'll do first is I'll group this. And I'm going to want to hide because I don't want to contour those again. So now I'm going to contour surface one more time. Select. And what we want to define now is the base point and the direction. I am going to just use an angle this time from one side to the other. So I'm not going perfectly horizontal. I'm going to make these at an angle, and those lines are going to be perpendicular to that angle. So I'm going to make a slight angle there. I'm going to set it to 1. Now, there they go. So I'll type in group so that they're grouped right away. I'll type show. One second here. Okay. And so now I have my contours going in 2 directions, as you can see. I'll hide this here. And those are my lines. I'll group these again. Okay. And again, I have three-dimensionality, which is what I was looking for from this. And when I have those, once I have those selected, what I can do is I can go to my pipes layer. Definitely you want to set up your layers so that you have control over this. So I'm going to select these lines and I will type pipe, asking me for the radius. I'll set it to 0.1 and boom, all done. Those have now been piped. Now I'm missing a profile. If we go back to this, I'm going to zoom in here. You can see that there's a pipe on the outside that's much thicker than the lines on the inside. So what I need to do is bring back my profile and I'll pipe the profile lines. It's that one. It's asking me for my radius. And this time I'll do 0.3. My end radius, also 0.3. Okay. And that's going to be a little bit thicker. And I'll do that again. So click 0.3, 0.3. Okay. And that just means that I can change the radius of that pipe from the beginning to end. I don't want to do that here. That's not what I'm concerned with. So for now, this is fine. I've now finished the line work that I'm making for the shape. So the next thing is to create an opening and a transition between that box and the surface. So what I'm going to do is, and this is what I did before, I'm just going to split my surface. You can split it however you want, but I'm just going to make things a little bit simple here. I'm just going to make straight lines. Let's see if this is going to work. I'm going to trim, definitely trim this out. I thought I could. I need to explode. Okay, explode. Because it wasn't going to trim the surface. I need to get it out of here. So now I can go ahead and trim. Select the two. Got rid of that. Now I need to be able to transition from one to the other. Well, the first thing that I want to do, which is something similar to what I did here, is I pulled it off the line in which the wall exists. So I will select this, and I'm going to bring back that surface too. You'll be needing that. So I'm going to select these two. I'm going to pull these off a little bit. There you go. That's just going to give me some dimensionality. And we like to have depth in our work. So I can hide those pipes now because I'm just going to work on my surface. So I'm going to hide the pipes. I'm going to hide the lines. I can hide the profile. So it's just my surface with the surface I want to transition. Now this is an existing wall, and I'm adding this design to the wall. And for me to do that, it's going to be pretty simple. I'm going to show you a command. If you go down here, you can peel this off here. Now I peeled off the fillet surface. What I want to use is the blend surface. You can also just type it in, but I'm going to just show you. You can click here, and it's going to ask me for my first edge. It's this one, and my second edge, this one, and it's going to create a blend between these two surfaces. Now it's a little bit weird. This looks a little bit weird to me. So I'm going to change my options here, and you can play around with each surface that you make. It's going to be slightly different. So I think I know what's happening is that I added what was a sort of lip off this edge. If you look at my model, I produced an edge because it's transitioning this way and then back into that surface, and that's not what I want to produce. So I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to get that line back on here. Copy here over, and I will loft here to here. So I'll hit OK. I have my surface. That's good. I can get rid of those lines now. Put my surface here. All right. So now instead of transitioning straight down and into this, it's going to be a little bit more complicated. It's gonna come from out here and transition down. So it's going to take that direction of that surface, and I'll show you what that's going to look like. Just click the edge, click the edge. And now you can see that there's actually some more curvature here. And that's because it's, like I said, it's not just starting and going down, it's starting horizontally and then having to force its way back down. Okay, this looks pretty good. And it's red because it's flipped. We can ignore that for now. And you can play with this here, and this is going to play with the curvature of that surface. It will try to hold it tangent, and you can play with these options here and try to understand what each one does. So I kind of like what this is doing. So I'm just going to go ahead and save that and flip it. And I've turned off the ISO curves. There we go. So looks like I have some pretty strong lines, and those are basically coming because my radius was pretty tight. I didn't have those lines on the other version, and that's because I had a much wider radius. I think I used a 6. Over here I used a 3, and you can start to see some of those strong curves there. If I wanted to change it, I could, but I'm gonna leave it like that for now. And I will do this one more time. And copy this surface over here, here, and I just pull this out, and I'll do the same thing. Blend. I'll click from here to here. And it's doing some crazy business. So it's going inward, and I guess that's going to be because my surface is going in. So I'm going to drop that here. I'll flip it. And maybe I'll squeeze this back in so it's not so crazy. I'll blend from here to here. I went over my time. I'm going to try to finish this here. And what I've been able to show you now is that you can produce a surface that transitions between a flat wall. And what I'll do is I'll turn the ISO curve off. Looks like I'm freezing up. I'll turn the ISO curve off. I'm going to join transitions here. Join the transitions here. There we go. And if I turn off this surface and I turn on my pipes, there you go. I've been able to recreate this first version that I made. You can see it's slightly different. I think I made really sharp edges here, and it's messing up some of my surfaces. And so you know when you start to design your version of this, you just have to be careful with this radius, because this radius is trying to resolve itself as it transitions from a curved surface to a flat surface. Okay, great, and that's going to be it.